Georgia Southern is at the forefront of concussion research, with professionals from both academics and athletics teaming up to provide the best care for student athletes. Biomechanics professors Barry Muncassi and Nick Murray explain the significance of their research.
Biomechanics is the analysis of human movement. And in sport activity, there's a lot of human movement. So it's of interest for us to study that because the field is relating to injury, it's relating to how well they can do it, or performance measures. So biomechanics has been involved in sports for a very long time.
When we're talking about biomechanics here and applying it to sports, we're talking about the analysis of impacts. We're talking about looking at jumping, looking at landing, looking at things like strength of muscles, looking at injuries. So biomechanics covers many aspects of athletics and athletic performance and athletic injuries.
The problem with a concussion is it's a neurometabolic disorder, meaning unlike other issues that you have, like you have a broken arm, you can see a bone protruding from the skin. You can see the bruise, but you can't see it inside the brain. You can't see the damage, and you can't measure it normally like we would with imaging techniques. So the only way you can measure it is through human movements and things that you would do on a normal basis, and then you compare it and you take a look at it and so, okay, wow, you look different than what you did before the injury.
In biomechanics right now, we're interested in looking at how concussions occur and then how do people recover from those concussions. So specifically, there seems to be a lot of interest in looking at impacts in football and potential concussions that occur due to those impacts. And right now what we're doing is that we're doing baseline measures on the football players, and then if they get injured, if they get a potential concussion, then we have something to compare their state after the concussion to what they were before the concussion. And then there's a process they go through for recovery, and we help the doctors and the athletic trainers determine when the athlete is ready to return to participation. But that's not just for football. We also do that for all sports. All athletes that come to Georgia Southern and are participating in an NCAA sport and the cheerleaders are screened at a baseline. We have for the football players a sensor that we put in their helmets, and the helmet tells us something about the accelerations of their heads in impacts and the number of and the type of force that they've encountered in their impacts. And that provides us with a basis of information to worry about, or to then go ahead and check those athletes to make sure that they're okay. Our sensors don't tell us that somebody has a concussion. There's no special number or special situation. You can have athletes that have relatively low impacts that can have concussions, and you can have athletes that have very high impacts and don't have a concussion. But we use these sensors to help us to help guide us to looking at the athlete, asking them questions, doing some testing that might indicate whether or not they could have a concussion.
Concussion assessment is actually very challenging, and it's really hard, I think, to do appropriately and correctly. That's why we have specialized individuals, just like here at Georgia Southern. We have an outstanding sports medicine team that has extensive experience working in sport-related concussion, and that gives us a leg up on what we're trying to do in keeping the athletes healthy.
In other academic institutions, you have a complete split between academics and athletics. The only time that they sort of communicate or work with each other is when there's academic issues for the athletes. But overall, the athletic department is completely separate from academics. Here, Georgia Southern has a tradition of working together, working across sort of lines and barriers and walls. So in this case, you have academics and athletics working together, which is unique.